Today we have the first Twisted Barrel match of the 2025 season, and let me tell you, I got my butt kicked by the wind. Hey, how's it going, everybody? So real quick before we get into the video, this was posted previously this weekend and I took it down. I wasn't 100% happy with how the video turned out, but I couldn't really figure out what I didn't like about it. The first comment after I did post it was from Quality Maximus, and he made the observation that there wasn't really any analysis in the video, right? Like, what did I do wrong? What would I do better, etc. And I think that's a great point. So I pulled it down, made some changes, and now it's back live. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So welcome back to another episode of Shoot More. If you're new, welcome. If you've seen some of my videos before and you like the content, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. It really lets me know that I'm doing a good job. Today we have the first match at Twisted Barrel for the 2025 Rimfire PRS season, and this was probably the hardest match I've ever shot at Twisted. My buddy just recently took over as match director, Chris Brown. Big shout out to Chris. He put a lot of effort into this course of fire. The targets were small, there was a lot of movement, and we had full value wins most of the day. It was spicy, it was a hard match, but hard in a good way because it really called out some areas that you needed to work on. I was the first shooter up on the first stage, and I missed the first shot, and that really set in motion a negative mindset for me for the first couple of stages that I had to fight through to kind of get back on track. I think that's something that we don't talk about enough in competition, is the mental aspect of it, like staying in the game. I probably could have made a couple more impacts had I not checked out, essentially, but I'm learning, you know? That's why I wanted to make this YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in the match footage. The first stage that we shot for the day was Blocks and Rocks. Pretty simple course of fire. One target, 5 positions on the blocks, 5 positions on the rocks. I was the first shooter, and unfortunately, I missed the first shot. That really set me up in like a negative mindset, and I had to kind of fight through that. Really, I just rushed the first shot. I didn't spend any time on glass prior to stepping up to the firing line, trying to figure out what the wind was doing. 100% my fault. I typically like to at least spend a minute behind some binos trying to figure out what the grass is doing, seeing if I can see mirage. I didn't do that in this stage. That translated into me going slower than I think I probably would have otherwise, because ultimately I do end up timing out on this stage.
Impact. Impact.
You know, like right there's a lot of wasted movement, basically standing up just to kneel back down. I feel like I probably could have utilized the 4 stack of rocks further on the right better and had to move less. And I think, yeah, after right here, I kind of paused for a second and I go back and count. I shouldn't have stopped. If I would not have done that, I probably could have gotten this shot off in time. So with stages like this where there's a lot of movement, every little bit counts. You got to make sure you're being efficient, and I just wasn't. Next up, we have the Rooftop stage. Typically not one of my strong stages, and continues to not be one of my strong stages. 3 positions, left, middle, right. There were 4 targets, 1 shot each. The wind was the biggest factor here. If you watch the American flag on the back, it kind of goes from a 9 o'clock to like an 11 o'clock to like a 9 o'clock. and that was changing the wind holds, and it could change target to target. The ground was pretty saturated. It was kind of hard to see where your misses were. I'm shooting Lapua. I can't really see the bullet that well to begin with. Honestly, I couldn't see the Eley bullets that well unless the sun was behind me lighting up the back of the bullet anyway. I don't know if it's my glass, I don't know if it's my eyes, but it's just not something I've ever been good at. Trying to figure out what the wind is, start to put something together, and there's the wind died on that last shot. You know, keep an eye out on that American flag, and that's really going to give you kind of an indicator of what's going on during the stage. Now it's picked back up again. I didn't account for it picking back up. Make the adjustment, hit, same hold, miss, and impact. One of the big themes of this match was paying attention to the changing winds as you're shooting. It's hard to do when the grass is short and you don't really have mirage. I was also shooting a pretty low magnification, so I was only at like 10x. Maybe 12, and it was making it hard to see the misses. I've kind of gotten into a habit of shooting on a wider magnification, I guess less magnification, because I've had instances before where I've shot out of order because I was magged in too far, so I've really backed out. This match hurt me in that regard, and I actually end up a couple stages down from this, magging into like 16 or 18 so that I could see the misses better and make better corrections. But on to the next one. All right, tank trap stage. Nothing crazy here. A little bit different firing position order. 3 positions, 2 shots each from the first tank trap. 2 positions, 2 shots each from the second. 1 position, 2 shots each from the third. No shooting underneath the cradle, so all that practice we did will not be put into leverage here. Made a pretty good run on this stage. I think I only dropped 1, and I made the wind correction for the big target, transitioned to the small target, and I gave it, there was too much wind, and I sent it off the opposite side. So overall, not a lot to talk about here. I will say this is the first match that I shot with Baker wings, and they threw me for a loop. I should not have put them on the rifle and immediately jumped into shooting a match. It just didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel like the rifle settled the same. I feel like with the Baker wings, you have to manipulate the bag a little bit differently. Like you kind of have to load the bag up into the Baker wings for it to be stable. I've gotten used to it now, just a little bit of dry fire practice. I really like them, but putting them on the rifle and immediately going and shooting a match was not the right decision.
Fuck. Impact.
So, Cattlegate. I always try and shoot rear tripod. I definitely had the tripod raised too high up. It was unstable. It was like kind of like bouncing back and forth, like there was tension in the legs. It was stable enough, but I feel like I probably would have been better off with a bag on the bar. But we still made a pretty good run at the stage. I think I only dropped 1. You'll see me here making micro adjustments of the legs. So we make the transition, get in position, and then I have to like kind of fidget the tripod into place. If I don't know if, yeah, there it is. Fidget. The tripod was not sitting square on the ground, so it was leaning some, and it just wasn't as stable as it should have been. I need to spend some more time practicing now that I've got a different tripod and just getting used to how that one works and where it needs to be placed.
Impact.
Exactly. Did you know what animation say? Mom's address.
Impact.
So the winds have been pretty crazy on this match. I think that's been pretty easy to see. You can see some of the wind flags in the back left corner by the trucks. It's ripping. And, you know, if it's a full value wind, and it changes 2 miles an hour, that can change your wind hold a couple tenths. I mean, we're not shooting close distances. We're shooting targets that are, I think, 150 yards out, 125 for this stage. So that was the big thing here. This last position, I'm watching the bullets like corkscrew, so like the wind's coming left to right. There's a berm on the right, and as that wind hits it, it can start to swirl. It's weird to see when you see it happen. Prone stage. Nothing too crazy here. Wind call was the name of the game. You're stable, you're prone. I mean, it should be pretty simple. 100 yards, 175 yards, 225, and 300. So I had a good call for 100. And I don't remember what my wind calls were. I'll see if I can do better about writing them down in the match book so that I can give a little more context to this in the future. Moving on to 175. At this point, I have increased the magnification on the scope, and I can see the impacts. Those were all favoring the left edge of the target. So I reduced the wind call a little bit, sent one off the right, made the correction, make 2 impacts on the 225 target. 300-yard target is a total guess as far as a wind call for me. I take the first shot, don't see a report, increase the wind hold. I see it on the left side of the target, make the correction, get the final impact. So PRS Barricade, 5 positions, 1 can be repeated, cannot be the last position just shot. Pretty standard PRS Barricade rules. Big then small. The tricky part here was the target was pretty far, 175 yards to be exact. Lessons learned here, try and pay attention to your impacts and pay attention to changing environmental conditions. I think I really struggle when I'm on the clock, 1, feeling what's going on around me, and 2, paying attention to changes downrange.
Oh my God. Stand by. That little one's tough. Impact. 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 Impact.
Stonehenge, 5 positions, 2 rounds per position, move and repeat. Nothing really to talk about here. It was a good stage. We got our first clean. We were able to keep an eye on the wind for the most part. You can see that berm that I was talking about previously here. We are on the far right side of the firing line at this point. 160 yards, little square target. It was a good stage.
Impact. 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 Impact.
So pipes and rocks. This is one that I really want to talk about. It was 5 positions. You take up a position, you engage the largest yellow KYL, and then you engage the confirmation target and move. Repeat engaging the next largest KYL target. Problem is the KYL rack was at 50 yards. The confirmation target was at 132 yards. So you had to, what I should have done and didn't do was adjust parallax for each shot. I had adjusted the parallax more so that I could see the far target, but I was shooting dirty, meaning I couldn't see really well on the KYL rack, and I was giving up easy points. You know, I was missing the larger targets on the KYL rack because I couldn't see what I was shooting at. I had plenty of time. Lesson learned, don't be lazy. I should have just taken the second to tune in the parallax on the Burris and make sure I was getting all my impacts. This is the stage I feel like I had the most control over the mistakes that I made, and I've learned the most from going forward. I would rather have timed out and adjusted the parallax and got the impacts, because I feel like I would have dropped less on the stage had I done that, if that makes sense. But lessons learned. Now we know for the future, don't try and shoot the KYL dirty. Make sure you can see what you're shooting at. Take the time to dial your parallax. Because I was holding over on the far target anyway. It wasn't like I was trying to dial.
Impact. Impact. Could you fix that one, John?
Nice little bonus shot here. Had to fix the KYL rack because the target was stuck. And on to the next. East Connex, 5 positions. Engage targets to be with 1 round each. I love shooting out of these Connexes. Big movement. I like having to get the rifle in and out of tight spaces. I think it's fun. One general piece of feedback that I think Chris got, this was his first course of fire that he put together. He didn't specify on every stage the order that the targets had to be shot in. So you can see here, I start shooting it one way and I shoot it the other way. Was not specified in the course of fire, so technically not wrong. I think going forward, the feedback he received from everybody was that like you kind of have to include that information. If you're wondering why I shot the targets in a different order, that's why. But this, it's pretty standard. You're pretty stable if your rifle's balanced. There's a big enough ledge on those windows for that bag to really kind of settle in. You're not struggling too bad. The wind's the biggest thing on this side of the range, but you know what? We made it happen. stage of the day. This was by far the most dreaded stage. You know, we've been listening to people all day talk about how they timed out, how hard this stage was, because it made you do multiple things. There were multiple targets, large distances between the targets, big wins, multiple stages, mandatory reload, and specified firing orders. So, I mean, you want to talk about adding a lot of the stressors that you have in a PRS match into one stage. This was it. So I did turn on the gas. I was trying to go as fast as I could, and I wasn't seeing my misses as well. I probably should have magged in a little bit further. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this stage went. I feel like the movement was okay. I didn't waste a lot of effort or, you know, time trying to get settled into the bag. Good mag reload there. Kind of fidgeted a little bit making sure the mag's in, but I didn't want to have to deal with, you know, if the mag was out and then getting RimX'd. Confirming targets, engaging. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this went. I thought it was a lot of fun. I know some people hated it. I love stages like this. You know, the stages where it's one position, one target kind of get old after a while. So big props to Chris on the design of this stage. And if I would have taken my time, probably could have done a little better, but I think we close out with about 10 seconds left. So we had a little bit of leeway. I will probably practice this in the future. But yeah, good way to close out the match. So that's gonna wrap it up. I ended up placing 5th overall at the match. Given the difficulties with the wind and course of fire and the movement and the mental aspect of it, I am proud of that 5th place finish. You know, we just got more work to do, and that's okay. So thanks for sticking around. I hope you guys like this content. Let me know if you have suggestions in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks again.